All right, that's our initial business. And now we would like to welcome Karen R. Diver to convention today as our opening speaker. She is currently serving as the inaugural Senior Advisor to the President for Native American Affairs at the University of Minnesota. This cabinet-level position advises the university's president on building a more just and inclusive system to serve Native nations and their learners. Karen previously served as the Director, Native American Initiatives at the University of Arizona and as the inaugural Faculty Fellow for Inclusive Excellence for Native American Affairs at the College of St. Scholastica. You can learn more about Karen by reading her full bio in your electronic packet. Please join me in welcoming Karen.
Thank you so much for having me today for centering on Indigenous issues. So I'll introduce myself traditionally. Bujuanin, Karen Diver, Nindijinikas, Makwa, Nindon No Dem, Nagachi Wanang Nindunjaba. I said hello. My European name is Karen Diver. I'm of the Fond du Lac band, the Bear Clan. My spirit name is Bikwe, which means morning sky woman. Today you are getting the deluxe version of a land acknowledgement. Yours doesn't have to be this complicated, but I was also asked to make this a learning opportunity as well. And at the end, I have a to-do list for you. So I am joining you today from the current homelands on the Fond du Lac Reservation in northern Minnesota. Northern Minnesota is home to 7 Anishinaabe bands. The Anishinaabe people are woodland people who lived all along the eastern Great Lakes, but moved westward in fulfillment of a prophecy that said we would perish unless we moved west to find the food that grows on the water, or wild rice. Previous to the Anishinaabe, northern Minnesota was home to the Dakota and Northern Cheyenne peoples. If you live in southern Minnesota at this time, you are residing in traditional and current homeland peoples organized into six distinct tribal communities. Prior to the creation of the state of Minnesota, these indigenous homelands held autonomously governed peoples, vibrant communities, relationships with the land and our relatives upon it, intertribal, interracial, and international relationships and commerce. Our submission to treaty making to avoid military actions and further genocide allowed for the creation of the state of Minnesota. Tribes were not able to effectively govern their communities until the civil rights era in the 1960s and 70s, when the federal government finally discontinued its overt policies of assimilation and extermination. Today's contemporary indigenous peoples live half on reservations and half in urban areas across the country. Under tribal self-governance, tribes undertake robust natural stewardship activities, public health programs, education from birth to college, public safety and court systems, economic development, and so much more with increasingly positive outcomes. These outcomes, however, have to survive in a system where settler colonial priorities are embedded into the political systems to the detriment of indigenous peoples. This is the part where all of you come in. This is your call to action. Understand history. Treaties are still in effect. Learn an accurate history, like Lincoln ordering the hanging of Dakota 38 in southern Minnesota for the sin of not wanting their children to starve. Like the Sandy Lake Massacre, where promised provisions were purposely withheld to cause starvation, sickness, and death. Sandy Lake is in central northern Minnesota. Understand that that's history today, and we are still here. Despite boarding schools, displacement into urban areas, the criminalizing of our spirituality, we are reestablishing our language and culture. The boarding school era lasted into the 1970s with the motto, that's 1970s, with the motto of kill the Indian to save the man. Our indigenous identities are the wellspring of our current resilience, and your support is necessary. Understand also that tribes are not monolithic. Across the country, there are 574 tribes with differing languages, cultures, traditions, governance structures, and spirituality. Please learn all you can about today's contemporary tribal communities. Demand that data used to make public policy decisions is reflective of Native Americans. Often, because of our low population numbers, we get left in a category called other. How do we address policy issues and inequities? If you don't count it, the systems can't be held accountable to fix it. Understand that tribes are political entities, governments. Demand that the state, counties, cities, townships, that they work intergovernmentally to support our shared Indigenous citizens' health, safety, and well-being. Too often we are ignored or underrepresented by other units of government. When I was tribal chairwoman, it was an ongoing struggle for me, especially at all of those layers of government, for them to say, my citizens are your citizens too, and they deserve representation and to have their equities understood. Support tribes in acquiring their land base back. Our reservations are not what we were promised in treaties. Federal policy allowed incursion into the reservation. Some were diminished by 95%. They've been reclaiming land. Fond du Lac currently only owns 33% or 36% of the land within its borders. Within reservations, encourage federal, state, and local governments to return land to the tribes. Encourage private landowners to offer to sell their land back to tribes first before offering it to others. Many times tribes will buy land. In ceded territories where tribes maintain the right to hunt, fish, and gather, support those rights. They are treaty guaranteed. Every citizen in the state of Minnesota also enjoys treaty rights. Your ability to have your government, your private property, your citizenship came at the expense of Native equities. Please support what tribes gave up and those things that they still retain in order to continue to be an ally. When you support the right to hunt, fish, and gather, it's tied to our traditional lifeways, public health issues, and food security. Majority culture priorities should not impinge upon these rights. Water and air should be clean and regulated for healthy ecosystems. Natural resources degradation and climate change are existential threats to our culture and spirituality and our racial and environmental justice issues. Please support tribal sovereignty. Tribes have proven since the 70s when they've been allowed to govern, we have proven that we know what's best for our own communities, our own citizens, and have the capacity when resourced adequately to influence positive outcomes. Miigwech, thank you for your desire to include Indigenous issues in your state convention. I have always appreciated that the League of Women Voters has been a leader in working towards equal representation. American voting rights are under attack. We're lucky in Minnesota, but please spread the word to other leagues where the Native turnout actually had a huge impact on the last term elections. I'm thinking of Navajo Nation in particular, as well as some communities in Montana. So whatever you can do to watch out of how gerrymandering and voter access issues is appreciated. Thank you again for including Native Americans in your convention. I hope the rest of your convention goes well, and thank you for your work.
Karen, thank you so much for being with us today and for sharing your knowledge of Indigenous issues with us. I wish we had more time that we could spend with you, but thanks for being with us today.
Thank you. Look forward to maybe coming back and doing some more work.
That would be great. Thanks so much for that offer.
Thank you.
I want to quickly thank Jane Hovland of the Duluth League for arranging Karen for today to be our speaker and also for helping to arrange our speaker for tomorrow. Many thanks to Jane.